All right, y'all. Welcome to the next installment of the Dismount Podcast. And today we are saddling up and we are talking intentions, living your truth. And I would say for us, this topic is a pretty bold one to start.
I look like Mason Rudolph right now.
Oh, jeez.
Look at the hair.
Bob's Burgers and Mason Rudolph.
Bob's Burgers amazing.
Had a baby.
Yeah.
But I would say, this is definitely a bold topic to discuss because I can't sit here and say I'm living my full truth.
Right.
But I would say the three of us are diligently on that journey of trying to figure out what that fully is or how we grasp that.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to grasp it, to be honest. And I guess let's throw out a crazy hypothetical just to blow this whole topic out of the water, right?
I like it.
So we're not going to get deep into the conspiracy of like money and all that kind of thing, but let's just say society got completely 180'd and everybody found out that all debts have already been paid and we have this Treasury Direct account that was set up in our name with our birth certificate that created a bond that then made all this money throughout mine, yours, 30 years of us living and playing the game and the society. Okay. And you were just, boom, you wake up tomorrow and you now have 30 million sitting in your bank account. And my world just completely went, what? Whoa.
Yeah.
Like that changes everything. There's nothing that I can't live towards my truth when I have that. Because for me, dude, like the hardest thing right now in society is like, just give me my free energy and give me my fucking water. And like outside of that, like everything else like is a commodity. Like I understand paying for internet to come to my house. That's a commodity. Someone's got to set that up. If I didn't do the due diligence to set up internet to be able to have it fiber optic to my house, then like, yeah, I got to pay someone else to do that, right? It's a service.
Yeah.
But like some things that like you and I've talked about recently of like healthcare, man. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
I'm not even someone who utilizes that shit on a regular basis.
So
Fingers crossed, knock on wood. And some fucking wood. I don't use that shit on a regular fucking basis. So, like, I'm paying astronomical amount of money. Let's say I make a 6-figure salary this upcoming year, and I live in Pennsylvania. I'm already 30-some% taxed, 30+% taxed on that money.
And then put on top that you live in the city. If you do, that's another set of taxes you have to deal with.
Yeah, being in Allegheny County,
pay taxes.
Yeah,
you know,
and then you gotta live in a county, and then a city, and then a state, and then a country, and then the world tax and the universal tax, and
well, I'm starting to see like the craziness of starting your own company, man. Like starting your own company, and then it's just like, oh, hey, here's a new fee. Oh, hey, here's a new regulation. Oh, hey, here's a new fine that you have to pay because you didn't know that we just created this new UCC code that's number 5006258947J58. And you didn't know about that one. Like what
oh man, which one's that?
What? Like,
that's for us to go around and caulk all the sidewalks. So, that trim, we have to go in there and we got to clean it. We got to get in there with the toothbrush. It's the toothbrush tax. You're going to go in there, we're going to get a toothbrush, we're going to get a guy, we're going to pay him, he's going to get in there, he's going to scrub all the grime out from in between the cracks of the sidewalk. It's worth it, I promise.
This is the guy who we pay to go around and cut all the potholes so that the water flows down into the actual hole.
Yeah, this is the guy who actually creates the potholes.
Yeah.
This is the guy who fixes it. We actually
His
have a guy
put salt in it for extra.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Hey, old Donnie pothole.
It's crazy.
But you're not wrong. Like thinking about that, like with the money in mind, you wake up tomorrow, everything you have to work 40 plus hours a week towards is relinquished, and now you have money to build off of. What are you doing that first day? Because that's a great exercise to start thinking about like what you actually want to do in your life, and then you can kind of take a step back and then wonder, okay, so what is truthfully holding me back from that,
Yeah.
And that's tough because like you could say, oh, those commodities are like, oh, I want to travel, things that actually cost money. But like you take a step back and then you realize, cool, like even the 40-hour work week, it does drain you from accomplishing things you want to set yourself towards. But then you look at the way things cost or how we can't, our generation are struggling to find the way to even own land or property or anything of the sort. We're just priced out and we're drowning in student debt. And it's just, there's so many things that add up. And that's not even taking like in consideration the mental aspect of it, of like what you're holding yourself back mentally. This is just the financial aspect. We haven't gotten into like the mental gymnastics you have to get through to get yourself to do something. So I love the financial aspect of it, and you bringing up that the fact that like the money situation makes it really tough, because when I look at it like that, I go, oh man, I'd start a podcast. I'd be sitting there every day, and you're like, okay, cool. But like, that's why I think an example of like the truth that we're putting ourselves towards this year, and I talked about with you earlier this week, was leaning into the things like this more. Like, how many times have I sat there and went like, oh, dude, I'd love to just sit around and talk to my friends, like with a microphone and record it and just like do it because I'd like to do it. And we're finally putting ourselves on that journey. I think that's a step of like, hey, you're not letting things get in the way of what you want to do. You're putting time aside. Dude, we've been doing this for what, 18 months? I don't know.
It was a little over a year now, right?
It's easily
18,
over. Yeah.
So with that in mind, of like we put things aside, some people put more money into this than others. Regardless, the point is we've put time aside and we dedicate ourselves to each other to show up and continue to do this. So how can we build off that more in our lives? Because that's something where I'm like, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to do something new. I'm going to try to learn very slowly how to use editing tools, or how to help promote this, or how to actually talk properly into a microphone, which took us like a year to do. But regardless, I think it is interesting because like this podcast, for me at least, sits as like an example of like ways you can put yourself out there to kind of go discover yourself even further.
Yeah, to start breaking down those barriers, to allow yourself to see like, oh, well, I would kind of enjoy doing this more so on a regular basis.
Right.
Oh, I do see how much fun that is. Like
Stop being in
me,
protection mode so much.
yeah, me. Oh, dude, I'm waking up and I'm streaming for 6 hours, riding my bike
love
and
doing
doing
that shit, dude.
100
Like,
miles
I understand.
easy. Like,
Yeah, I understand over COVID, like you had more time, but like that's something like I know for sure, Brandon probably the same way, that you loved doing that. So like maybe setting the schedule, and we were talking about that this week
Yeah.
too. Like, dude, I have to like set, when I get home from work, I have like your non-negotiables that you've mentioned. Like I love that. And I think like even then you add things like this for yourself on top of it, and it's great, but it also like it's a drawback too, in the sense that you're like, oh, I gotta come home, and then like from 4 to 5 we do this, and 5 to 7 we do this and this and that. And, like it's cool to see like something that you love, the streaming side, that you're going to get back into, because those are things I'm talking about, where like you have to find time for yourself. Like even yesterday, like love my job, like would have showed up. We had a busy night last night. I put everything aside to go support my brother and his band.
yeah.
And it was worth it. It's 100% worth it. And I think we need more of that this year, because it gives us the opportunities to take a step back and like focus on yourself and what is important for yourself.
So what are those things you're focusing on this year? Not to blindside you.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think the one thing that is really important for me is actually discovering like ways of taking care of myself, like genuine ways, like coming home from work on Wednesday and doing laundry when I don't want to, and then going to the gym, and then washing dishes and cooking a meal for myself, instead of like, rolling over to the brunt of the work week, where you're like, okay, I can get away with like not doing laundry till Saturday or whatever it is. So little things like that, where I think even when we set the intentions in the Christmas episode of what we want to do, it's just slowing down. I think I'm so enough to be in like fight or flight, or to be in a situation where I'm always moving. What's next? There's always something to do. I think this year my goal is to take a step back and let it come to me a little more, but also in tune, kind of focus on the things that I know are best for me. Eating properly, exercising. I know I feel better when I exercise.
Yeah.
It's just doing it.
Right.
You you feel better every time you do it. You go for a run. I love running in the cold. You put a sweatshirt on, you sweat your ass off, and you get back and you shower and you feel terrific. But try convincing Derek pre-run that feeling is coming post-run, because half the time it's like, I have no interest. I have no interest in this. There's a completely different person on one side of that run than the person at the end of the run.
Yeah.
That person pre-run's a pain in the ass sometimes.
Yeah. Seriously.
But I think that's it. I think, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think too. But for me, it's the slowing down, letting things come to me a little bit more. What's out there is always going to be for you. That's what my girlfriend's good about trying to tell me. Is like, what's for you is always for you. It's always going to be there. It's always going to come to you. Stop trying to force that happening so much, or force things happening, because you're going to end up maybe in the wrong place.
What does this topic even mean to you, Tit?
I think I'm somebody, it's really funny, as I was taking notes and as I was thinking about it, brainstorming, I've been filled lately with like a lot of negative self-talk, and it's ironic from somebody who like studied to become a therapist, who knows all the things that you shouldn't do, shouldn't say to yourself. And I've just had like lately a lot of intrusive thoughts and negative self-talk, and I'm like, what the hell, get out of my head. They still come. And when I was taking notes for this, I was like, I'm not living my truth. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And I just like went so hard in on myself. And I was like, whoa. Did like a little Owen Wilson, like, hey guys, we're all friends here. Like,
yeah.
Like, and I had to take a step back, and I was like, take it easy on yourself. Jesus. Like, I never say Jesus, like, but legitimately, like, Jesus, calm your ass down. Like,
God damn.
yeah, for real. I'm like, just settle down. Like, you don't need to be like you said with the foresight. Joe Dispenza, he talks about living in survival mode, and you get all your engines ramped up, and it starts affecting your hormonal system.
Yeah.
And you start to move away from your growth mindset because you're so focused on just surviving every day. And for me right now, I feel like a lot of times I'm just surviving. And for me, I tend to, with living my truth, be a little self-sacrificing. I'm trying to make sure everyone else is comfortable, and, in places, I don't want to say which places. I'll talk about it after the podcast, because I don't want to, mention certain things on air. But certain places I feel like, I'm not living my truth because I'm not like asserting myself. And I feel like I am definitely willing to be the person who will endure pain rather than make someone uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That makes, it takes a toll. I think physically, there's certain things like your nervous system gets a little bit like haywire if you aren't living your truth all the time and living by your values. And since, yes, I actually found something.
It's crazy in a world where everything is so accessible. It's more accessible than it's ever been, that we somehow have like, you were talking about learning music. It's more accessible to learn music than it's ever been. Yet we still find reasons not. For me, it's the fight or flight type thing.
Yeah.
What do we got? Oh, the mission. I love this.
I wrote this in 2016. I read a book, Primary Greatness by Stephen Covey. And that's been pretty much my mission. You know what stopped me from like all the negative self-talk and being hard on myself? I read that sheet of paper. I have my mission statement, my priorities A, my priorities B. And to sum it up, it's pretty much like, help others, inspire others, be there, but also focus on growth, introspection, and try to be, always continuing to grow. And it's basically a summary of that whole page. What I'm not doing is I'm not following through on my B priorities. And I was like, geez, Brandon, you're actually like, you are living all of these things, your strategy, your like life strategy, but like you're beating the shit out of yourself. And I'm like, geez, this is insane. So for me, I think living my truth is coming back to that. And I'm actually putting that in the front of my, you guys know this, but anyone watching doesn't know. I have a book after Jordan Peterson's concept, Organized Chaos. I have Organized Chaos, and I've been filing through trying to like just chip away at the things that have been bothering me and accumulating, while also taking care of myself and trying to go on my dopamine diet, trying to like go on my serotonin like increase and just trying to take care of myself better. Just try to respect myself better. So that's me trying to live my truth.
Yeah, I had a buddy come through during the holidays, and he was like, "I think you'd really benefit from reading Marcus Aurelius, uh, his meditations." And I was like, from what I've gotten from Marcus Aurelius, like, dude was basically had everything you could potentially want. You know what I'm saying? He had the money, he had the power, he had everything,
Right.
right? Just completely given to him. And he constantly tried to walk away from it. From what it felt like,
Yeah.
from what I've seen and what I've heard and the people that have talked about him, he constantly tried to walk away from that and didn't want to be sucked up by it and then turned into like one of the greedy people or one of the dark people or one of the guys who has one of the kings that just has orgies on orgies on orgies kind of ordeal, right?
Yeah.
And cool, dope for him. But I've gotten to this place where, like, for me, it's so much about balance. Like, we talk about it. It's just every single podcast we come back to this one word, and it's
Yeah.
balance, brother. And like, I'm so dead set that it's just you gotta be grounded into your heart so that you could play around with the lower bestiality stuff, all the fun, you know, the sex, the orgasms, all those kind of things, the understanding what it's like to be in fight or flight, you know. So that lower half of yourself is that strong beast, that animal that can protect you, that
Right.
will, if someone's trying to harm you, you go and you go down to that place and you unleash that animal and you protect yourself
Right.
and you endure and you survive. But then everything above that heart is all about thriving and just rising above all of that, like, lower thoughts and lower, you know, mindsets of just, wow, I'm this expansive piece of this epic universe. And it's like, so what the hell is even a truth?
Yeah.
Like, because I don't know. I feel like we're the creator, the observer, and the, you know, participant.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, okay, so I was a part of this because all the way down to like the lowest of lows, like the singular cellular level, I was a part of that.
Right.
There are 3 billion cells that make up this body right here. And every single one of those cells has the capability of putting out 0.07 watts of voltage, like a power.
Ooh.
Like, so that means, like, multiply that by 3 billion, bro.
Yes.
Like, and you want to tell me that you're not an electrical light being? Like, come on now. It's just, there's so much interesting stuff that we haven't even scratched the surface of society even getting on, let's say, an over 50% level
Yeah.
of what we're capable of or what we are as humans. So, like, sitting here and saying that any of these jabronis that are living here right now, myself included,
Right.
are even remotely close to living our truths, I think is a fucking wild, bold statement.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I got all this money and I do all this good for people. Yeah, that to me sounds freaking sick. And I would love to be that person that just had all this money, who could just travel, do his thing, be able to just sit here for 10 hours tomorrow and just learn a new instrument just because I want to.
Yeah.
But then the day after that, be literally just like shelling out help wherever it's possible.
Yeah.
Like, take my time, do my thing. And like, that sounds amazing. That sounds like a truth that sounds banging.
Right.
So that right there is the, you know, the North Catholic motto, bro. You know, the being a steward to the environment and being a steward to like your community.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, outside of that, what is, like, I don't think there really is any other truth than just being a part of the, like, not being a burden to the other people around you. And being a burden to like the environment, being a burden to society.
Yeah.
So I'm the guy who's constantly going against everything. why am I going against everything? Okay, now let's start to dig into that. Is there the ability to see things from my side, or from two sides, or three sides? Because every story has three sides. So if you can't see all three sides to where we can finally come to an agreement of like, oh, the fourth sounds good. Like, let's come down
Yep.
to an agreement of like, okay, we see the truth, we see your side, we see his side, but now let's create the story that actually makes the most amount of sense. I don't know. That's a bold statement. Isn't that what history kind of is? Like, so we just, I don't know, man. I feel like we have all these amazing things out there that we haven't even scratched the surface. So, really sitting here and saying that, like, this is my truth and I know it for this incarnation, this is what it is. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to grasp that.
I
in
don't
this
think you're
life.
supposed to really know, though. I think you're just supposed to put yourself in a position, for me at least, to unveil that to myself. I feel like there's, again, back to the fight or flight mode. Like, if you're always down in that, like, animalistic, I need to survive, and that's just seemingly where our paycheck to paycheck society is, then how are you supposed to find yourself in a place where you can find the room for growth and expanding yourself, and finding time to, like I mentioned, you learning music? No wonder people say you need to start it when you're young, because you don't have time to do it when you're old. That's the thing. Like, we were talking about, God, if we learned how to play piano when we were 16 or whatever it was, or even younger, then you could just sit down and come home and play piano. The process of trying to learn that right now at 30 plus years old, with all the things you have to deal with, and then finding time for yourself and knowing, like, oh, I love streaming, I love playing video games, this and that, something you already got, you want to incorporate with exercise, whatever it may be. Those are things you can lean on as something you enjoy as a passion, but it's something you've already kind of learned how to do. So in a culture where, like, we are failing to own anything, failing to be able to, like, live in a world where you can find comfort financially or any stability, it's seemingly tough for me to be able to turn around and say, okay, I can go and put myself out there in a lot of different instances. And that's what makes it tough for me on the growth standpoint, is incorporating those ways. And I think for me at least, like, that's the goal this year, is not to figure out who Derek is, but put Derek in a situation where he can figure out who he is more every day. It's a journey. It's not I don't want there to be like, tomorrow I'm going, oh, if I do all the right things tomorrow, I'm going to know exactly who Derek is, exactly where I'm supposed to be. I think you're supposed to trust that journey, and know that if you're putting the right intentions out there, that it's going to give it back to you.
I would agree. I'd agree with that. I think for myself, I didn't realize, or I forget so often how much, like, I really have been like someone who has lived his truth pretty hard.
Yeah.
Like, back in high school, we sit here and say like, oh man, well, what would have happened if I would have, like, picked up, started playing piano at 16 years old. At 16 years old, dude, I was spending like 8 hours a day practicing lacrosse.
Yeah.
Like, so I was someone who was like dove into something, gave it my all every day.
Yeah.
Like, after school, I wasn't driving around because we had license and like going to South Park, or like just driving around just to drive around and go buy a couple, cigarillos and
Whoa.
smoke a
Whoa.
smoke a black and mild, because
Whoa.
wood tip black and mild, because
Oh,
like
man.
that was the thing to do. Like, that wasn't me. And that's not me taking shots at the people who I know were doing that,
Yeah.
who then didn't understand why I was better at lacrosse than them, or why I gave so much of a fuck about being good. Like, they just did not understand that, because it wasn't their truth. It wasn't something that they cared about. They didn't care about being, I don't want to say respected, but it just, to me, they cared more about being well liked
Yeah.
than being respected.
And that's definitely something that still holds true with even where we are right now in our age. Like, I still struggle with that sometimes, because I feel as I continue to try to better myself, the journey of self-improvement and self-growth is done in a manner where you're going to have to leave people behind, or not care so much about what they think of you. And that, for me, I don't know why I'm wired the way I am, but that's tough. But when you take a step back, are you going to discover more about yourself catering to other people, or are you going to do it in a way where you can do what's best for you and then think about it later, think about what other people think about you later, because in the long run, it never gets you anywhere anyway.
No, it's definitely the latter. It's definitely the do it for yourself and don't give a fuck what anybody thinks
Right.
about it. And if that really comes up later on, then it came up later on for you, man.
Yeah,
And you know,
it never comes back the way you think it will. Like, oh God, I'm gonna ruin everything with this relationship or this crew or whatever. And I think 16-year-old, like, it's about priorities too. Like, you had like your A and B priorities, and I mean, I think that's a great list to have. Especially even as we sit here, like, you sometimes have to remind yourself what is important, because even when you're 16, yeah, being the well liked and being a kid and whatever, you can't think you can hold someone too accountable to that. But I think what it shows for you is you were able at a young age to, maybe it's just through lacrosse, at least identify what was important for you and go after it, no matter what it meant for your relationship, for people around you, or what it showed you in the light of those people.
yeah. And then look at my 20s. My 20s, I just wanted to party.
Yeah.
I really wanted to party.
Yeah.
I really wanted to experience that. And
Yeah.
I wanted to be the best at it. There was not really.
Wait, dude, party Zach, like, there wasn't anyone higher. Like, Zach partied harder than anybody when Zach partied.
He got some moves, let me tell you.
Dance moves, unmistakably like the best at just dropping it down.
Oh, geez.
Drinking, like,
And not pulling anything.
bottle of tequila gone.
Yeah.
If I'm getting kicked out tequila cowboy, I'm the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
I'm climbing up over the railing and jumping over and running down the sidewalk. I'm gonna do everything the best.
It was reckless, but it was
Yeah,
fun. And
right.
that's what I focused my time on.
Yeah.
And that now, oh, well, look, all the way to the point where the only time that I can sit here and say that I did not have control of myself throughout that entire phase was when I passed out on the roof and had to
shove
be
you back
had to be shoved
dang.
down the hill and into the
Who was up there with me.
it was me, you, John Praskovich, and Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan Praskovich, John, and you.
I think it was Praskovich, John, and I were the ones
Yeah,
that
who shoved me through.
They dragged you down a roof and shoved you through a window that was
Yep.
a quarter of the size of you.
Yep. That was the only time in that entire phase when I did not have control of myself.
Yeah. See, I don't like that, So why in a sense of, like, I know being blackout drunk's not the best example, but it does hold true that I don't like being blackout drunk. I like having that control. So where does the marker sit in the dirt where it goes, okay, this is as much control as I'd like to have in my life? Why not go further? Why not take more control? What's holding me back from that?
Right.
Because I like being in control to some instance, for sure. Like, I don't want to go out and get blackout drunk and not know what the hell happened, not be in control of my actions or what I'm saying, and I mean, not to go down the path of, like, your drunk self, but there is some redeeming qualities to show who you actually are. Maybe not redeeming qualities, but there is ways to see the light of who you truly are when someone has a couple of drinks in them, or even gets to that line of, like, you're kind of blurring being there, present or not.
Yeah.
But with that being said, just goes back to the control thing. If I'm so enough to make sure that I have control of myself in that situation, then why not in other situations?
Right. Why can't I turn those positives into another positive?
Yeah.
Why can't I bring those into a whole different realm?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, so now I can control myself on my partying. Why can't I control my finances?
Yeah.
Whoa, the pretty wild
Yep.
statement, but not really that far off, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough too, because, like, if you think about it, your first, the trusting your heart and trusting your first impression is key to me, at least. It always, it's you got a good sense of intuition. I think all three of us do. So, why is it so hard, or why is it so easy to justify not following that? Like, I find myself going, oh, this is how I feel about a certain situation. But then that's where it should stop. Like, you got to trust your intuition, have faith in yourself. You're going to take yourself on the right journey, and what's there is going to be there for you. Not, hey, this is what my heart's telling me. Now let's try to break that down and justify why that's not true.
Well, it's not. I mean, how often are you able to break through that? That for me, like
Yeah.
it's
Like finances, I got to take better care of my money. I have money. I got to figure out actually how to manage it properly, live with like a budget, and understand when I go out with Brandon, we have beers, and I pay for the Uber, and I come back and go, how the hell did I spend, this isn't an actual example, but it's like, okay, Brandon and I both spent $80-$90 each. And I'm like, because we had a couple beers, and we ate something after, and we took an Uber, and then we went home. I wake up the next day, and I'm like, oh, that was fun. And I had the money, I don't have to worry about it. But how does that feed into like what I want to do financially of goals? And I think that just breaks into anything we want to do. It's so tough to not follow your heart because you got to answer to yourself. But like when I think financially, it's like, yeah, I should have a budget. I should know exactly how every dollar is being spent. Maybe not like an insane person, but what your heart's telling you is always right. So why is it so damn hard to break through that? Like I find myself justifies it laziness.
because it's hard. It's hard continuously making sacrifices and feeling like nothing is sacrificing for you.
Right. It is true.
Like, oh, holy shit, like I've now sacrificed this, I've now sacrificed that, I've now done this, I didn't get to do that. What the hell did anyone do for me?
Yeah.
Or what the hell did the system do for me?
Right.
Like crazy fucking statements, but like what the hell, like, is my money being spent on anything? Like, I watched the fucking township guy just sit in his pickup truck and he's getting paid probably $50 an hour to be cleaning up the streets.
Yep.
And I'm getting a fine for not cleaning up my back area. But like, this guy's not cleaning up the street that he's supposed to clean up.
Yeah.
And my tax money's going towards that. And so it's just like, so there's just too many things that are like all these things that had come back and hit you like, holy shit, I just spent $500 on my sewage bill? Like, what the fudge? Like, who the hell's pumping so much shit down the toilet that there's like, I'm paying this much for this?
This much?
Like, what the hell? Like,
who's using my bidet?
You know what I'm
this should
saying?
be done on a per pound shit basis. I want you to come weigh my shit because there's no way. There's no way.
So it's like you make all these sacrifices all day and then nothing comes back. Like you just keep getting shot in the nuts, man.
Yeah.
At least it feels like that.
Yeah. I saw the new Wonka movie. And
the new Wonka movie?
I saw the new Wonka movie. And
there's another Willy Wonka movie?
Yeah.
Oh,
Doe and I went to go see it the other day. And she's like, oh, that wasn't very nice because like the chocolatiers in the big galley are trying to keep Wonka down, And I'm like, oh baby, there it is. There's a system keeping a good man down again. And she goes, oh, what are you, high? And I'm like, no. I'm just telling you, that's what this is. Like they're trying to sabotage him from the inside. They're pushing all this money. They're watering down the chocolate and keeping it down in a big tank. And there's millions of gallons of chocolate. They know Wonka's bad for the system. He's gonna come in, he's gonna blow it all up. So they light his whole freaking chocolate shop on fire and all this. And like I'm like, yeah, they're keeping them down. And like when you put yourself out there and you live on a dream, man, and you just see how many things are stacked against you when you're looking to follow your authentic self and you see the journey and the battle that it comes with, can't blame anyone for saying, man, that's a lot I have to go against to get to where I want to be.
Yeah.
It's a lot for any dream, man. It could be anything. It could be a hobby. It could be a way of life.
That's where the fellowship to me just comes in so hard. Like you have to build out a team. I don't see how anybody can beat this system alone. I really don't. Like the way that it's stacked again, like the way it's stacked up, like to really be good, to really have your shit together, to be able to protect yourself at all points and times, you got to have the lawyer, you got to have the accountant, you got to have the guy who's all got the ideas. Yeah. You got to have the grunts. Like there's still got to be the people who are doing the hard shit on a regular basis, the legwork. Like there has to be a team. Like I've been sitting here and I've been trying to do something by myself for a while. And like, I know how important a team is. And like, I have to say, like the companies and the jobs that I've been working at over the last 10 years have been building me into the most badass boss that's ever gonna live.
Yeah.
And I know it. I know it to be true. And I know that the company that we're building together is going to ultimately be a place where people are extremely happy to come, do their time, get their growth, and then move on to whatever they want to do.
Right.
And feel supported to be able to go do those kind of things. Not, no, I got to keep this person suppressed because this is the best person we've ever had in this position. But you know what? If I keep that person suppressed and stuck in that position, then they're going to be pissed, and then they're going to end up becoming disgruntled. They're not going to feel like they're continuing to grow, especially if they're the best person.
Yeah.
Then they're going to want to continue to fucking grow.
Right.
And so if I'm trying to clip their wings, I'm not doing anything good besides creating a cancer inside of my company where the morale is just going to go downhill.
Yeah, your hope is that they don't realize.
Yeah, they're blinded to the light.
Yeah. Oh, look, you throw them a little something here or there, and they stay content, and you push down that exuberance that's coming out. This person's flourishing. They're gonna grow tenfold over where they currently are. But
Yeah.
you're holding that person back, and I think that's why we were talking about businesses too. Like, you gotta. In my opinion, a lot of businesses reflect the ownership and what morals or what like missions or whatever. So I think it's cool that, again, going back to Brandon's like statement he wrote for himself, like doing that consistent inventory check of yourself is important because your business and your being, they are kind of similar in a sense of like, the values you're sharing. What's important to you? How is that going to feed off to the people around me?
So living my truth fully in 2024 is just not giving a fuck. And part of my French, I shouldn't swear. But just honest, just blunt truth with people.
Yeah.
Blunt truth with people.
Yeah.
And if they stick around, they stick around. If they don't, they don't. And it's not a blunt truth of like, you're a piece of shit. No, it's hey, don't invite me to that kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Like, don't waste your time. Call me for this, and that. If outside of that, look, it ain't happening.
Yeah.
In 2024, if you ain't my niece or my nephew, you ain't altering my schedule.
Right.
There are select people who, if they had an emergency, would eradicate my schedule in 2 seconds. Drop of the hat.
Yeah.
That's a different story. But going to just get some beers or going to a concert or something like that is just not in my repertoire.
Dude, Zach has to stop drinking. Honestly, I keep telling. I say, Zach, stop going out for beers. It's ridiculous. You come home from work and you're like, what would be great if I just go out for 8 beers. And Zach, I'm going to tell you right now. I think as a crew, as a squad, this is the intervention.
Straight disappointment.
You gotta stay away from Mike and Tony's too.
Oh, yeah,
you gotta stay out of there.
Dude, we did get that. Last week. Brandon, Ryan, and I went out. We got Mike and Tony's, and man, it just as good. Just as good as you remember.
It didn't last
just
for me.
as good.
It didn't last.
No?
No.
What
It was gone in about like 30 minutes.
I threw up.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, Lord.
But it wasn't a matter of drinking. It was like eating way too much in a day.
Okay.
I was just fiending, I was totally.
You're having a day.
Yeah, I was going into like Jabba the Hutt type of, or Jabba. I don't know. I'm not huge on Star Wars, but yeah, I totally went into a little feeding frenzy that day, and I was, we were having fun, and I didn't even need Mike and Tony's, but we were drinking.
Yeah, I think going back to that too, like the for me, the goal of this year at least will be to. I like what you mentioned too, like, setting those boundaries with the folks around. That's huge for me too. Like making sure that I don't alter what's best for me based on what I think will appease other people. It is probably the most necessary change I need to make. And I think it starts with a good like inventory check. And I think I've been doing that, and I think I've been even better this week of coming back and being. I think the living your true self starts with being honest with where you stand right now.
Yeah.
For me, it's okay. So, how often are you exercising? How often do you actually go to the gym? What is the real answer? Not is the you kind of worked out, you went for a long walk or something. Yeah, you did something. That is being like generous and careful with yourself. I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm overextending myself. I think I've done that too often, but being honest with where I sit. How often am I actually skipping meals to go get takeout instead of cooking? Because when I go eat takeout, I'm not going to the healthy shop with the noodles and the broccoli and the grilled chicken. Like, for me, I'm making that shit at home. It's just as good. It's cheaper. I want to eat the greasiest, nastiest crap when I'm getting takeout.
Yeah.
100%. So things like that. Just making sure I'm taking a step back and acting, figuring out where I am, and then acting intentionally towards where I want to be. Because a lot of the actions I found myself in last year did not align with where I wanted to go. And not in some crazy instance, but enough to realize, like, okay, if you want to be in better shape, or you want to start reading more or whatever it is. So what things are standing your way from doing? When I say, oh, over Christmas break, I didn't have any time to read a book. That is just incredibly not true. That is not true at all. I just was thinking that to myself. There's a book I was going to read. It wasn't even a book. It was an audiobook. So I wasn't reading. I was just listening to it. What was in the way of that? Really, what was in the way? And the answer is probably Call of Duty, something like that. So I think for me this year is acting intentionally, but also starting the journey of finding, not finding, because like I said, I don't think that's the case. I don't think you're ever going to set a destination on this journey, but being more present in the journey and acting intentionally through it.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a lot for 2024.
Yeah, but it is, but it isn't. Like, for me, it's such an easy change,
Stepping stones.
Right. It's such a little, like, not changing much of what I'm doing, but doing things for a specific reason. Not just doing shit to do it.
Yeah. So doing things with actual intention.
Right. And
So
like, why I'm doing this because this is my 5th of 7 days I'm going to be working out. And like, hey, I hit my goal again. Just setting those little mile markers to remind myself, hey, this is where you were, this is where you are now, and this is where you're going to continue to go. And it just keeps you on that train of whether you're doing your 10,000 miles on the bike or whatever it may be. I'm just not a goal person. I never was. I just kind of show up and do the thing. It's worked for me so far. So it's like, well, I change it, but then you become a little more, I don't know, just okay. You're fine with the way everything is. Everything's good. Everything's great. I'm in this place where I'm comfortable. You're complacent, and I see the value in comfort, but I also think it's a place that I don't need to live in. I don't need to live in comfort. I want to challenge myself more.
Okay. Yeah, getting comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think I'm still good with that. And I think it's like a superpower I can put out into my life that I think I already deal with through like my past life. I feel like the finding comfort in the uncomfortable has always been there, but not in a constructive way. How can I turn that into a way that makes me better?
Yeah.
Not just because I'm trying to survive.
Yeah.
Sounds like you got to get closer out of survival mode. For me, that's been...
Yeah, that's it.
Zach pointed out a word last year. I don't know what podcast it was on, but it kept coming up, was discernment. And I think it was one of the early episodes. And I've been trying to do that, and that's helping me get closer towards my goals of just, doing the things that matter to me and trying to let a lot of other stuff go.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably my biggest challenge, just letting stuff go that doesn't matter.
So what would be for yourself? What would be your like tricks that you're going to try to use for this upcoming year to live closer to those intentions?
Relax.
Or tips. Yeah.
Tips.
Tips.
I think the biggest thing is discernment and keeping up with the habits that will help sustain you. And I think working out, like you said, is one of the biggest ones. Because honestly, it's funny. Yesterday, I was having a down day, and I've been trying to like biohack my body. I understand it very well. I shouldn't say I understand it well. I understand pieces of it very well. I've been trying to go on my dopamine diet. I've been trying to increase my serotonin. Some days are better than others. I could probably clinically diagnose myself with a few things, or at least one thing, but I have enough protective factors and coping strategies where I'm not meeting the criteria. So it's like, it's funny because I'm like, all right, you don't have this because you're good enough at preventing it. And I'm just like, okay, how do I like keep working with this? I know my neurotransmitters are lower than I need them to be. And I'm just, throughout this upcoming year, I'm just trying to find ways to increase that. Working out, yesterday I was having a hard time gaining momentum, and I was like, you just need to leave the house, to be honest, Brandon.
Yeah.
Like, it's snowing outside. You're not getting a lot of sun. You need to get outside. I don't care what you do. Get your ass outside. And Trisha has been sick for a while. So she can't talk very well right now. So she texted me like, hey, like, if you want to like go out and do something, don't feel guilty. Like, thank you. But like, go do what you got to do. And then I immediately left, worked at my parents' house, went to the gym. I came back. I was super productive. And I was like, that's it. Sometimes you just need to get the wheels rolling, and it doesn't matter. It does matter what it is. It doesn't entirely matter that it's like, I think for me, it's the perfectionist attitude where you're like, I need to do this 100%. I need to go all in.
Yep.
And then you end up looking at the whole big picture, and then you're like, that's too overwhelming. I'm just going to doom scroll. And I did that for the first 2 hours yesterday. I was on Reddit, and I was like, I woke up off the couch. I went upstairs and I laid in bed intending to go back to sleep because I woke up early in the morning, and then I doom scrolled on Reddit, and I was like, damn it. Just like lost 2 hours. But for me, I think the thing that keeps it is discerning, trying to get the wheels rolling, trying to keep biohacking. There's a few things I'll mention after the podcast too, but yeah, I need to be more honest with my needs above all else. Is my needs, I'm not meeting all of them. I'm just like in survival mode.
Yeah.
I'm taking care of the ones that are most urgent and not most important always.
Yeah.
Often what we need to be doing is what's urgent and important. But for me, I need to be addressing the important things too, those B priorities. I need to be hitting those too. And I'm proud of myself, and I need to be a little bit nicer to myself. But I think there's one thing that I have to mention. I wasn't going to mention, but it just fits. You guys know I love movies, and the best ones teach you something about yourself. You guys may or may not have liked D3 Mighty Ducks. When I was a kid, I was like, it doesn't have Coach Bombay. I don't care. I was like, they kind of ruined everything. That is like, looking back, I'm going to probably watch it like tonight if I have time. But the Coach O'Ryan, says something real cool in it. He says, confidence is what makes great teams. It's easy to have confidence when you have control of the puck, and difficult to keep it with whatever strange bounces come your way. Don't be careless, but don't be too careful either. You cannot be afraid to lose. That's how you gain confidence to attack the game when the puck isn't yours. That's how you attack life, even when you don't have any control. So I was like, damn, I did not like that coach when I was a kid, because it wasn't Coach Bombay. He made these kids like he was kind of a buzzkill all the time. But like, looking back, I read some of the comments on it. It's like, yeah, you kind of agree with him now as an adult. You're like siding with him. You're like, yeah, man, life's gonna get hard. Coach Bombay, he just like taught you some cool stuff, and he had some gimmicks, but like that only take you so far. Sometimes you need to, like, in order to build that confidence, in order to become a great team, a great defense, championship team, you need to, like, just be prepared for the bad bounces and, keep working, keep grinding.
Yeah.
But discernment above all else is my plan. Try to cut out a lot of this stuff, try to build the habits, and try to do the uncomfortable. And Huberman talks about building your anterior cingulate cortex. Do the difficult things, your anterior cingulate cortex will grow, and then you'll be better for it.
There's for me, I really need to focus on sleep. I need to focus on getting the right amount of sleep that allows me to wake up, because to me, life is movement. So if I'm sitting still, then I'm basically dying, or I'm decaying. You know what I'm saying? So not that, I mean, there's times to take a break. There's times to, stop. But like, for instance, I came home early on Friday, got off work. Yeah, I did a 17-hour day the day before. So I did a half day. And I get home and I'm just like, man, I'm whooped. I'm going to go lay down for 30 minutes. And Ruby like jumps up on the bed and she's like all excited, and she wants to play. And she's like, thinks that it's 3:00, but no, it's noon. And we go, it's time for us to go for our walk. Like, it's time for us to go for our walk. And I was like, Rube, just lay down, give me 30 minutes. Told her that. We laid down, she chilled. But then that 30 minutes turned into 2.5
Yep.
hours of just
Yep.
crashing there, just laying there, cuddled into her, perfectly fine. And she was the sweetest girl, stayed with me the entire time. But what I should have did, I should have got outside, should have took her for that 30-minute walk,
Yep.
and then I would have been re-energized and ready to go.
Yep.
But all the stress and the frustration, I was just like, I'll just lay down right now. That's the move. I need to take 30 minutes. I'm going to meditate. 30-minute meditation was not even happening whenever I was tired and frustrated.
Yeah.
So like sometimes I'm starting to think like you can't even walk into meditating with any type of stress or any of that type of stuff. Like you got to be like prepped and ready to start meditating.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like meditating, like if I come in there and I'm just all stressed, I'm spending 30 minutes just trying to get relaxed
Yeah.
to be able to start meditating or release all those thoughts from my mind.
Yeah. Try to be more proactive and less reactive. It's like Brandon mentioned too, trying to do things for yourself. When I want to read a book, not sitting down saying, I'm going to read this entire book. And then I do it all like one time. And I think about it the next day and go, I don't want to sit there for 2 hours and read another. Why can't I just sit there and do 10 pages a day every day?
Yeah.
10 pages, start 10 pages. I don't know. It seems like a tiny number, but
Right.
just start doing something. That way it's built into you. And
It'll compound.
Yeah, it'll come, especially the meditation too. Like the same thing where you turn around and go, I don't want to do this because I need to. I want to do it because it's something that's already incorporated and it's a part of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was another kick-ass episode. And as always, we say, don't trust us, trust yourself. Keep rocking on your journey and have fun. Because, like, what else is the point?
Yeah. Yeah, we need some fun. Let's have
Do
some
it for
fun.
yourself.
We'll have fun this year. I'm
All right.
excited.
Peace out, y'all.
Thank
Later.
you guys.
Thanks again for tuning in. Don't hesitate to check out next week's episode, episode 22, Wolfpack. Ow!